Hi, my name is Terie Dreussi-Smith, and this is Philip DeVol. Wave, Phil, so I know who you are. We are the co-authors of Bridges Out of Poverty, along with Ruby Payne, Dr. Payne. And Bridges was first published in 2000, and we're working on a new Bridges, and so much has happened in between. So we'd like to talk about Bridges communities, and what is a Bridges community, Phil?
Well, to put it in just a few words, it's in a community, people get exposed to our ideas. And if they like them, they start using them. When they start using them, good things happen. And if you begin to have different organizations apply these ideas in their own organizations and get good results, and then they come together to collaborate to overcome the barriers that people in poverty experience as they're climbing out of poverty, you've got a Bridges community.
So we think, Phil and I think, that the Bridges communities are definitely just champion organizations within those communities. And what is a Bridges organization that is a champion? It's we have a societal lens, or I call it an impact lens, of how you use Bridges. You use it one-on-one to build relationships with people, and as professionals to engage people. And then we use it in the organizational, the community, and the policy level. So at the organizational level, community organizations, businesses can take the Bridges lens and start using it as a magnifying lens to look at their client life cycle or patient life cycle or employee life cycle and bring that all the way through that person's experience and start to look at when are we engaging people versus when are we telling people what to do. And, we want people to feel motivated from within themselves and make their own arguments for change. So this all goes very closely with the new Bridges book, how it's organized, as well as the certified training, which is all about institutional, community, and individual lenses and policy. So Phil, let me put my shiny glasses on here for a moment. So it's been 20 years, and we've been together the whole time working on this. And so many people have come through the doors, and we call it the community of practice, or the learning community of Bridges. What have we learned about Bridges communities in the last 20 years?
Well, I think the first lesson was that people in poverty are problem solvers, and they need to be at the table. And so they use getting ahead in a just getting by world to process what's the impact that poverty had on them and their communities. And what we found is that just releases all that giftedness and talents that people have that get smothered by poverty. So they're at the table. So that means that we have a Bridges training for the middle class, I say, getting ahead for the people that are coming out of poverty. And we have books for the different sectors. So we have a common language. And it's really important that we have this kind of language, because now we're all kind of focused on what needs to be done. And it allows us to work together, right? Different organizations. And when we hear from the people that we serve about what the barriers are, and they're telling us, and they're at the table to help us solve the problems, we can get really good at overcoming those problems that people experience. So that's sort of the methodology of it, is about innovation. And we're always constantly surprised by the brilliant things that people do, things that we could never have imagined going into it. So that's the beauty of this, is people take ownership of it, and then they innovate, and then they're champions, and then we get together and share ideas.
So if you think about it, a Bridges steering community is designed to involve every sector, every economic class, and represent every community and every population within that community. We are living in a society where many communities are afraid to talk to each other. And we are, I think that we were talking yesterday and saying, Bridges allows for the conversation. It's an understanding, seek first to understand. It's an understanding first forward sort of communication and understanding environments and hidden roles and so forth. So people actually can work together again.
Yeah.
I think, Bonnie, but when we talk about, well, what are the, we won't name the most sustainable and successful Bridges communities, but what are the common traits of the Bridges communities that have lasted and lasted and grown exponentially?
Well, it does help if you have a leader that's in place for a long time. We've also seen people hand off that leadership role in a very sophisticated way, so they don't lose anything. So that's an important feature too. I think the other idea is through the results that you get and keeping your community informed of what you're doing, is attracting a consistent flow of money for what you're doing.
It's always good.
So you need that. So those are the key things, and I think that if you have all classes and all sectors and all political persuasions. And I think we need to emphasize, and I think Terie was sort of hinting at this, that in this day and age, the people on the left and right can't seem to hear each other. But in Bridges communities, people are attracted from the left and right into this work, and they also want to have good communities. So if you want a wonderful, safe place to innovate and do great things, this is the work that you want to get into.
Mm-hmm. We also know that usually a successful Bridges community that's engaging their community is excited about it, the initiative, is using Getting Ahead, because when people are going through Getting Ahead and transitioning and gaining more stability, it's very exciting for the community. Our friend Bonnie Bezada called Getting Ahead the high octane fuel that just drives the Bridges community. And we were thinking about, who do you want at the table? And, there's a lot of people who just put up walls, and that when we have a lot of silos in our community and it's difficult to break them down. And what we sort of decided was that you need people with vision, you need people who are innovative, and you need people who understand the Bridges ideas as well as other models. I mean, it's possible to bring other models into this as well, but I think that innovation and the willingness to take the chance and sort of lay everything down. And, we know that the impact collaboration models use the same goals. They put all of their money in the same pot, and they have the same evaluation. So there's a lot of getting together with that. So I think that, people at the top, the middle, the bottom, everywhere need to have that insight, that innovation, and have connections. And people in every economic class can have connections to what you're looking for. If you're looking for people in middle management has a collection, the connections. If you're looking for folks in poverty to advise you on what programs actually work, folks in poverty can get you those people to come to the table. So this is so exciting after even 20 years, isn't it?
It gets more and more exciting because we keep getting shocked by wonderful things that people do. But, it's all relationship based, right? So what you have is people from different classes coming to appreciate each other and working shoulder to shoulder, right? So when you have that in place, it actually begins to change the culture of your community. And we see this in the most successful Bridges communities, is that there's a whole different tone. There's a whole different way of looking at problems. And it's such a relief not to be caught in that either or kind of situation that we're in kind of in this country. So it's exciting. It's really positive. You get good results, and you get to listen to people as they help solve problems. There is a next step that we need to get to, though. Poverty is really complex, and we can't expect people in poverty to get out through their own energy. We know our institutions have to make changes in the way they do business, which is what you were referring to earlier, Terie. And then we have to identify what the barriers are and deal with them in our community. And then finally, I think that some of these barriers are so big that we have to address policy. And that's what's coming next. And the new Bridges book and our strategies now we're learning from our communities again. We're getting better at changing policies at the city and county level, and beginning to touch at the state level. And so we want to get better at that so that we can say that we're really doing it all. And so that's what the future holds, I think.
So we've learned a few things over the last 20 years, and we have some things to share with you that are brand new. One of them is when you go through our certification training or take the second day, the institutional lens training, and the third day, community lens trainings. Lots of trainings with Bridges, by the way, and people just want to move forward without being trained. And it's kind of like you've got to get that critical mass of understanding to happen first. But we have some products or some questionnaires that you can use. One of them is called "Is My Organization a Bridges Champion or a Bridges Organization?" The other one is my community a Bridges community? It's a checklist, so you can go down, and it's not you just do it afterwards, but you can do it before, during, and after, because it gives you direction. I think the new Bridges book is going to be very exciting, and we are glad to have put all of this learning and experience from the last 20 years into that. And also, the number one thing, and maybe Phil shared this with you, is that the leadership and the Bridges steering committees come to our national conferences, and they meet people from across the country who are every different stage of using the Bridges lens and connect with one another. And those connections can be lifelong, really, connections that are very powerful. We know how to build relationships in Bridges. So we welcome you to come to San Antonio in September. You will see the dates there, and to begin to engage in a deeper level in a new way. And it's a lot of fun as well, right, Phil?
It's the best. Somebody came to one of these, I think he is from England or something, and he said he'd been to lots of national conferences for different organizations, but he had never been to one where everyone said they wanted to be there. And we're so used to these being like huge celebrations that, we didn't know what he was talking about. But
yeah, I remember those days when I used to work for you.
Oh.
Well,
yeah, those were the good old days, Terry, when I was the boss.
These are the good days. These are the good days. We want to thank you, everyone, for being with us. And you can always contact us. Maybe there's some information there. Contact AHA Process, and they'll get you to us. Thanks again. Thanks, Phil.
Yeah, thank you. Thanks, all.